So, John, you made some very important points in the direction that internet governance is heading in your keynote and also on the panel. And one of the main bodies of internet governance today, the IGF, you described as like a talk shop, basically. Right. How come you have that impression, and what do you expect to get out of the meeting in Baku in a few days' time?
Well, I think it's going to be a really good meeting. I mean, talking shop isn't necessarily a negative term, and it's really important when you get civil society together with governments, together with international institutions. We have to talk about the internet, and one of the interesting things in tonight's discussion was the point made by one of the participants saying actually the vast majority of people who use the internet, as soon as you open up a computer, you've got no idea what's going on, you've got no idea who's regulating what, who's doing what, and I think that's absolutely true. We've got to get a sense to people that what goes on the internet isn't a sort of tangential thing. It's actually vital to everything in pretty much every aspect of life, from internet shopping through to sort of political revolutions. Everything happens pretty much now online.
And one topic we didn't actually get very deep in the panel discussion, but you did just touch upon in your talk, is the whole issue of privacy and data protection. And just from what you've said now, it still gets me. I have a lot of friends who have academic backgrounds and work on their computer every day and have no idea about how their data is being tracked and how people are making money off that.
Well, it's everything. I mean, from particularly younger people using Facebook and throwing out all kinds of details and images of themselves. And it doesn't even need to be pure internet. It could be kind of airline or supermarket loyalty cards. They amass all kinds of things. Amazon, the book people, I always find it endlessly amusing when they tell me after I made a purchase that these are the next books I'll be interested in buying, and they're always right. They know my mind better than I know my mind, which in a way is kind of fun. On a deeper level, it's kind of a bit worrying, but in a way that's the world we inhabit, and we've got to navigate a new form of privacy. The only way of guaranteeing complete privacy is never, even if you don't do anything to your mobile phone, kind of everybody knows where you are just by the fact that your phone's on and you're walking down the street. So we've got to navigate a new way, and the most important thing, whether it's companies, governments, supermarkets or whatever, is some set of rules, some sense of transparency, some sense of a trade-off that if you want to opt out of all kinds of things, you should be able to do that. It might mean that advertisers find it harder to reach you, and you might therefore find it harder to get things that you want to get, but that may be a trade-off that you want to have.
But it does kind of feel at the moment that the trade-off is more in favor of let's say, security versus privacy, or security versus freedom of speech, or basically the corporate and governmental powers that be versus your individual and personal rights. Is that your impression too?
Oh, completely. In fact, that was my last book called Freedom for Sale. It was why we're trading our liberty in return for security. That's absolutely what is going on. And what bothers me more than the fact is that most people don't seem to be bothered, or they don't seem to be aware. And there's an old phrase, there's a difference between the freedoms you know you're giving away and the freedoms you don't know you're giving away. And I think there's a huge amount of area to look at in all of this. I mean, people can, look, whether it's Google or other maps, or whether it's real estate maps, they can sort of look down every street, find out the value of a home, find out how many sort of bedrooms and sitting rooms and how they're located. Pretty much, we're just living in this world of sort of saturation data, in which pretty much you can find out everything, but at the same time nothing, because it's increasingly hard to navigate. So all of these issues are absolutely vital, whether it's at the IGF or whether it's at the kitchen table, that people have to start discussing them.
So with the scene set as they are at the moment, and this kind of daunting new phase of governments, authoritarian regimes trying to push for more hard control over the internet, how do we get people interested and educated about this? Like, what is it that we actually need and can do to make sure that there is a broader public debate on these issues?
Well, the first thing, I think people are gradually getting more interested, whether it's privacy, whether it's issues of copyright, which is a kind of boring term, but it's also, who owns music? Who owns a pop song? Who owns a book? Is a kind of fundamental question. Freedom of expression, again, sounds rather arcane and boring and technical, but sort of, what are you allowed to say in the schoolyard? What are you allowed to say on Twitter? These are all absolutely vital questions. I think we're gradually catching up, and the internet has completely transformed the way we communicate, the way we're informed, the way we relate to each other. And I think we're only now at the foothills of beginning to understand and debate what we want. I don't think we'll ever agree, and we don't think we'll ever agree within societies, and absolutely certainly we won't agree between societies either.
Thanks very much for the short interview.